light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Hide it under a bushel.
No, no.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Yes, yes.
Hide it under a bushel.
No, no.
I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel.
No, no.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Yes, yes.
Hide it under a bushel.
No, no.
I'm gonna let it shine.
In the morning,
Let it shine.
in the night,
Let it shine.
everywhere.
Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
In the morning,
Let it shine.
in the night,
Let it shine.
everywhere.
Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Hide it under a bushel.
No, no.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Yes, yes.
Hide it under a bushel.
No, no.
I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel.
No, no.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Yes, yes.
Hide it under a bushel.
No, no.
I'm gonna let it shine.
In the morning, let your light shine. Shine, shine. Let your light shine. Shine on.
Shine, shine.
Let your light shine.
Shine, shine. Let your light shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Let it shine.
This light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Oh,
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel.
no, no.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Yes, yes.
Hide it under a bushel.
No, no.
I'm gonna let it shine. Hide it under a bushel.
No, no.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Yes, yes.
Hide it under a bushel.
No, no.
I'm gonna let it shine.
In the morning,
Let it shine.
in the night,
Let it shine.
everywhere.
Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
In the morning,
Let it shine.
in the night,
Let it shine.
everywhere.
Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
Deeply planted in the mystery of life is God's love gracing the world with presence and purpose. We wait, longing for the dawning of God's new day. We prepare, inviting God's Spirit to make room in us, expectant yet wary, hopeful yet questioning.
Though any number of things scattered us this week, we've felt centered in your unfailing love. We light these 3 Advent candles, trusting. Not sure what. Let us continue the litany. You long with us. Please join me. You long with us for the world's transformation. You prepare us to receive a new gift. Deeply planted in the mystery of life is a stream of living water, offering life to all.
Good morning. This is the first reading. I'll put this over. Is that going to fall over? No, it's good. Okay. And it's Philippians 4, 4 through 7. Rejoice in God always. I'll say it again. Rejoice! Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Messiah is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in our Messiah, Jesus.
Amber called her uncle, said we're up here for the holiday. Jane and I were having solstice, now we need a place to stay. And her Christ-loving uncle watched his wife hang Mary on the tree, watched his son hang candy canes, all made with red dye number 3. He told his niece it's Christmas Eve, I know our life is not your style. She said, Christmas is like solstice, and we miss you, and it's been a while. So the Christians and the pagans sat together at the table, finding faith and common ground the best that they were able. Just before the meal was served, hands were held and prayers were said, sending hope for peace on earth to all their gods and goddesses. The food was great, the tree plugged in, the meal had gone without a hitch, till Timmy turned to Amber and said,
Is it true that you're a witch?
His mom jumped up and said, the pies are burning, and she hit the kitchen. And it was Jane who spoke. She said, it's true, your cousin's not a Christian. But we love trees, we love the snow, the friends we have, the earth we share. You find magic from your God, we find magic everywhere. So the Christians and the pagans sat together at the table, finding faith and common ground, the best that they were able. Where does magic come from? I think magic's in the learning, 'cause now when Christians sit with pagans, only pumpkin pies are burning. When Amber tried to do the dishes, her aunt said, really, no, don't bother. Amber's uncle saw how Amber looked like Tim, like her father. He thought about his brother, how they hadn't spoken in a year. He thought he'd call him up and say, it's Christmas and your daughter's here. He thought of fathers, sons, and brothers, felt his own son tug his sleeve, saying,
I think that I'm a pagan.
Dad said, we'll discuss it when they leave. So the Christians and the pagans sat together at the table, finding faith and common ground, the best that they were able, lighting trees in darkness, finding new ways from the old, and making sense of history, and drawing warmth out of the cold.
Mary got ready and hurried to a town in the hill country of Judea, where she entered Zechariah's home and greeted Elizabeth. When Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the baby leapt in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. In a loud voice, she exclaimed, Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the child that you will bear. But why am I so favored that the mother of our Messiah should come to me? As soon as the sound of your greeting reached my ears, the baby in my womb leapt for joy. Blessed is she who has believed that God would fulfill the promises to her.
Thank you, Leslie. I don't know about you, but I'm a lifelong Christian, but I love being in a church that completely blurs the line between sacred and secular. And we do it week after week. And so thank you, too, for that gift you give us each year. But today, we are really going to push the boundaries. We're doing the Grinch. I'm guessing there aren't too many churches that are doing the Grinch on this Sunday morning. That's what I think. But I want you to sit back. Cheryl and I watched the Jim Carrey version of that just a couple nights ago. And I want you to watch for the gospel in this story. Because what it says to us is there is more. There is always more than the little world that we put together. And that one of the things that Christmas does is opens up light in a way that gives us more in our lives. So enjoy the Grinch.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason.
How you doing?
It could be that his head wasn't screwed on just right.
Get out of my way. Thank you. Are those children or vermin?
It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Who's, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath.
And they're hanging their stocking.
He snarled with a sneer.
Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here.
Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming.
I must find a way to stop Christmas from coming.
For he knew all the boys and girls in Whoville would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys, and then, oh, the noise.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
What are you doing in my living room?
That's one thing he hated was the noise. Then the Who's, young and old, would sit down to feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand close together,
Please.
hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing.
The germs.
They sing and they'd sing and they'd sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this whole Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought,
I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how?
and then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea.
I know just what I'll do.
The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a cloak, and he chuckled and clucked.
What a great Grinchy trick! With this coat and this hat, I look just like St. Nick. All I need is a reindeer.
The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No. The Grinch simply said,
If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead, won't you, Max? I love
so
you.
he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied 2 horns on the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said,
I don't know what I said. Okay, Max, I know you can do it. I believe in you, babe. Giddy up.
and the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Who's lay a snooze in their town. All their windows were dark. Quiet snow filled the air. All the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square,
This is stop number 1.
the old Grinchy claws hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row.
Yes. And what? These stockings, which were not placed beforehand by the director, connection, not perfection.
Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant across the whole room, and he took every present, popguns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums. And he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimbley. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee.
Now I do the tree. The story is complicated.
I must stuff up the tree.
Ruh!
And the Grinch grabbed the tree and started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned round fast and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou Who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said,
Why, Santa Claus? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?
But you know that old Grinch was so smart and slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick.
Why, my sweet little daughter.
The fake Santa Claus lied.
There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it down to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there and bring it back here.
And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and he stuffed the tree up. Again.
It's already up.
Yeah. Then the last thing he took was the log from their fire. Then he went to the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls, he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And one little speck of food that he left for the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. And then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. It was 1/4 dawn, and the Who's were still abed, all the Who's still a snooze, when he packed up his sled, packing it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags, and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it.
Pooh, pooh to the who.
He was grinchiously humming.
They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open for a minute or two. Then the who down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo. That is the sound that I simply must hear.
So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow, but the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared at the Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes, and then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood there puzzling and puzzling.
How could it be so? It came without ribbons, it came without tags, it came without packages, boxes, or bags.
And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before.
Maybe Christmas
He thought.
doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, is just a little bit more.
And what happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with the load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys, the food for the feast. And he, himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. The end.
I lost my heart.
Do you all sort of get a theme running through the service today? I'm thinking about the wonderful Christians and pagans, the message of that. And I love when they talk about your magic is in God, our magic is everywhere. Because I actually think it is everywhere. So when Mark encouraged us to listen for the gospel in the Grinch, you know, it comes in that one last sentence. Did y'all catch that? That maybe Christmas doesn't come from a store, maybe, just maybe, Christmas is more. So as we go into our prayer time, we are going to explore more about that Christmas. So I invite you to get as comfortable as you can, maybe put down papers and hymnals and all that kind of thing, and feet flat on the floor. We're going to take just a couple of moments to do a little breathing together, to get focused and centered and be together in presence before God and in prayer. So let's take a couple of moments. Some of you have heard me say before that when we breathe in, the word for spirit is pneuma in the Greek, and it's also the word for breath, so that when we breathe in, we're breathing in the Spirit of God, and when we exhale, we are breathing it back out into the world. So just take a moment or two. I'm going to invite you to do some deeper breathing with me, and then have a little time on your own to do that. So if you would, a nice breath in. Expand your diaphragm so that it can be deep. And then breathe out slowly and let it go. And then one more time, breathe in. And breathe out slowly and let it go. And breathe in. And breathe out. Now, as we have just a few moments of silence, you're going to be aware of some sounds around you. You may be aware of your own thoughts that just creep up in our heads. They just do that. As much as you can, just let the sound go in and out your ears. And if those thoughts creep in, just say, okay, I see you. And bring your focus back to your breathing. If there are any places in your body that feel tight or in pain, as you breathe in, send this healing air to that spot. Surround it with light. And as you breathe out, have the image of that tightness or that pain dripping out. Simply relax into the spirit and allow yourself to be held. Now, in your mind's eye, I invite you to Bethlehem. Whatever picture, whatever visual comes up for you, let that be. Because together, we are going to the manger in this prayer. So I'd like for you to see it as a personal pilgrimage this morning, that it's just you traveling, following the star to where it rests over the manger. And as you approach it, see it in your mind's eye. You've gotten there before the shepherds, before the wise people. It's just Mary and Joseph and the baby, and perhaps the animals surrounding them. As you approach the manger, you might want to kneel down, you might want to remain standing, but I invite you first to look on the face of Mary. Imagine how she might be gazing upon her precious newborn son. And take a moment just to focus on her face. And then let your gaze travel over to Joseph. Notice how he too is looking at this precious newborn child. Mary and Joseph have already been on quite an adventure together to bring this child to the earth. And let that resonate in your own experience of this picture you see before you. And then finally, bring your gaze upon the child. This Emmanuel, God with us, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. But it's just a little tiny baby. Take a moment to look upon his face. And know that he came for you. And he came for everyone you love and those people you don't even know. And as you gaze at him, I invite you to offer him a little prayer in your own heart, or a blessing, or give him a gift. And then also in your own heart, receive back from Him a prayer for you, or a blessing, or a gift. This is the presence we take with us into this Christmas season. And I invite for you to know that you can return to this place anytime that you have a moment to simply drop and breathe and receive the gift from the Christ child as we hear the prayers for the world.
God of many names, as we prepare for Christmas, create in us a time and space in our busy lives for quiet and thought and prayer, that we may reflect upon the wonder of your love and allow the story of Jesus' birth to penetrate our hearts and minds. May our joy be deeper, our worship more real, and our hearts filled with gratitude that you chose to live among us and transform our lives in love and deep hope. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer.